Okay, so today we're going to learn about some scissors skills. What you need to know about scissors is they are meant to cut paper, so you can cut paper into shapes. For example, like what I have in front of me right here. And scissors can actually be very dangerous because they are blades right here. So you never want to run around with scissors, you never want to goof around with scissors. You always want to be very safe when you use these. They're going to have two handles for you to put your fingers through. So you don't put every single finger through one part, because then how are you going to open it? So the small opening here, this is for your thumb. So you can stick your thumb in the small opening, and then this is a larger opening. That's to fit a lot more of your fingers inside, so you have more control. So I put my thumb in the small opening, and then I'm going to put these two fingers into the bigger opening, and then I like to just hold it with my other two fingers. Now some of you might like to put this into the scissors. That's fine. To me, it doesn't have as much control. I like to leave this finger out. Some of you might want to put your pinky into the scissors as well. As long as it feels good to you and you feel like you have control, then you do what you need to do. You should probably not put all of your fingers in here though, because you need at least one finger on the outside to help control the outside of your scissors. So I like to have two fingers on the outside, two fingers on the inside. So again, thumb, these two fingers, and then I hold it. And you do what you need to do to make yourself feel comfortable. Okay, so when we use scissors, we open them like this, close them like this. So if we need to cut a big cut, we open them really wide and we just snip once. But if we need to do baby cuts, we just open them a little bit and we can do little baby cuts. Okay? Like that. When we cut on straight lines, you just need to open and close, open and close. So I'm going to cut this rectangle here. I'm going to actually turn my paper and I'm going to come in from this side and I'm going to hold my paper over on this side. I don't want to hold the paper next to the scissors because I can accidentally cut my finger and I don't want to do that. So I hold my paper over here and I come in from the edge, open, and I cut, and then I'm going to turn my paper. So it's a lot easier to turn your paper than try and do this with your scissors. So I turn my paper, now I hold it over here, and I stay on the line. Now I'm going to turn it again. Now this is going to be tricky, so you got to be safe here because half of your shape is cut out already. So I'm going to be safe, so I'm doing actually baby cuts to help keep me safe. And then over here, baby cuts. But this is a nice clean shape. There's no rough edges. So when I mean a rough edge, I mean edges that kind of look frayed. Okay? It's nice and clean. So that's how you would cut straight shapes. So now I want to cut all these shapes out. But this paper's in my way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of get rid of some of it because I don't need it. And I'm going to just set it in my little trash pile. But I want to keep my good shapes, so I keep my piles separate. So over here I have a triangle. Same thing. I'm going to come in from this side. Notice how my thumb's on the other side of the paper. These are straight lines, so I just have to follow the line, turn the paper, be safe. There's my pretty triangle. Now I do the square, same exact thing as the rectangle. A square has the 4 equal sides, where a rectangle, 2 sides are longer, 2 sides are shorter. So you can see the difference between a square and a rectangle. Okay, now all this stuff, I'm going to get rid of it. This is trash. Okay, so now I have a circle, a diamond, and an oval. 2 of these have curved lines. When we cut on curved lines, we have to do it a little differently. But this one is straight lines, so this one will be easy. So I'm actually just going to cut out the diamond first, because I know how to cut on straight lines. And I'm going to turn my paper. And I'd be safe and slow. There's my diamond. All right, so now I'm just gonna cut this in half so it's easier for me to come in. This is my circle. Whenever we cut on a curved line, so it's not straight, it's curving, we need to turn our paper, not our scissors. So instead of turning your scissors all the way around, it's gonna start to feel awkward. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Look at my hand, it looks so funny, okay? You wanna make sure you turn the paper. So watch my scissors, they're actually gonna be in the same spot the whole time. They're just gonna be opening and closing, and it's gonna be this hand that's doing all the work. It's gonna be turning the paper. So I'm gonna come in, and then I'm just going to scooch my hand over so I have a better grip. And I'm turning the paper. Scissors are in the same spot. Voila, now I have a nice pretty circle. And you want to do the same exact thing for the oval. Turn your paper, not your scissors. Okay, so now I can take all these scraps and I can recycle them. I don't need them anymore. Remember, we recycle our paper because we want to keep the earth healthy. So now I have my basic shapes that I've cut out nice and neat. No frayed edges, nice and beautiful. They still look like the shape they originally were on the paper. I didn't cut too far inside, I stayed on the lines. Okay, so after I cut out my beautiful shapes, you're going to have an envelope here, and it's going to have your name on it. And what it is, it's a little envelope for you to put your shapes safely in so we don't lose them. All right? Okay, so that's how we take care of our shapes. Next step, you are going to get the basic colors of our rainbow. Okay? So we have red, yellow, blue, green, violet, orange. And you are going to take your shapes. You're going to find, let's start with the square. And why don't we start with red? You are going to lay the square onto the red square and you will trace. So you will take a pencil, and when you trace something, you trace around the outside of the shape. So I'm not going to actually draw on this. I'm actually drawing onto my red paper. Okay? I'm going to do this with a dark marker so you can see it on the camera. It's kind of hard to see with a pencil. But you can do this with a pencil. You do not need a dark marker. So I'm going to hold down my white square nice and tight. And notice how I draw right on the edge. I'm drawing on the red part of the paper. And then I take off my white, and you'll be able to see my black square. Okay? So I'm going to set my white square to the side. I'm going to set my red square to the other side. Now I'm going to find my circle. I want my circle to be yellow. So I put my circle onto the yellow piece of paper, hold it down, trace, trace, trace. Now it's getting weird, so I got to move my hand a little bit, tilt the paper. There's my circle. I'm going to put this over here and set this over here. Next, let's do our rectangle. And I want that to be orange. So, if you look, my rectangle is almost the same size as my orange piece of paper. So all I'm going to do, trace this, and then I'll just cut this out and it'll be my rectangle. So let me just show you what that looks like so you don't get confused. These are scraps, get rid of them. Here's my orange rectangle. All right, I want the triangle to be green. So I'm actually going to line my triangle up with the bottom of the paper. Do you see how this bottom of the paper is straight? The bottom of my triangle is straight, so I actually can just line it up. And I just have to trace 2 lines. Now I have a triangle. Oval, green, and diamond, I want it to be violet, okay? Okay. So now what you want to do is you want to take all your colored shapes and you want to cut these out. So you're going to get more practice cutting out. So remember, straight lines, you just need to open and close your scissors, follow the line, put your scraps over on one side so you keep them in a scrap pile. Curved lines, remember you want to turn your paper, not your scissors. And you stay on the line the best that you can. Now that I'm finished, I have my scraps and I have my white stencils that I cut out. All of this can now be recycled. I don't need any of this anymore. So I can walk that to the recycle bin. Now if we get done early and you have all these shapes, then we just put them in our envelope, keep them safe for next time. What I want you to notice is some of these shapes, you can see kind of the line that I drew. Okay, so the cool thing is you flip it over, you don't see that line anymore. So this is the pretty side. So I can just flip them all over so I see the pretty side. Okay, so everybody will be getting one of these. This is already drawn on the paper for you. This is a paint palette. So it kind of looks like a funny face with its mouth open and an eye. But this is what artists use. They put it in their arms and then they put paint on it. So when they stand up and they paint, it'll lays on their arm and then they can just grab their paint from the palette. So it's really easy. Okay, so we're going to create a paint palette. We are going to practice our lines on this paint palette. Okay, so I want us to start right about here. So next to the little eye, the little hole right here, we're going to start right here. And we're going to draw lines that go from the top to the bottom. And you want to try to keep them as straight as you can so they don't kind of curve and slant over to the side. Okay, so the first line I want you to draw is a dotted line. So dotted or a broken line. So that looks like a road. So you just make a line, then skip, a line, then skip, a line, then skip. And then right about here, make sure you're still going straight. Okay? The next line I want you to make is just a straight line from the top to the bottom. So you're going to move over just a little bit. Okay. Next one is a zigzag. So zigzags are pointy. It's like pointy mountains, but instead of mountains going across, they're going to come down. We're going down every time we make these lines. Zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag. Next, I want you to make a wavy line. So that's going to be curved, and it's just going to keep coming down, kind of like a ribbon. Now all of these lines we can make going the other direction. So I could make a wavy line going this way, so it looks like water. I can make a zigzag line going this way, so it looks like mountains, but we're going from top to bottom. Next, I want you to make a castle line. So I'm going to come down, up, over, so it looks like a castle. And if it helps you to tilt your paper to draw it this way, that's fine. Next is loopy. I think we should all turn our papers this way for the loopy line because loopy lines are a little tricky. Okay, so I'm actually going to start over here this time. Remember, loopy lines are like roller coasters. Woo, upside down, woo, upside down, woo, woo. This one's an actual dotted line where I use a bunch of dots. So I'm going to do dotted line next. Okay, and then if you have space, you can go back to whatever line you like the most. If you don't have any more space, then you're done. So I like wavy lines a lot, so I'm going to go back to a wavy, because that's all I had space for. Now I'm going to turn my paper back the way it's supposed to go. And right here, in this area, there's nothing drawn here. So right here, I'm going to draw a spiral. Remember, a spiral is like a lollipop. You just keep going around and around, or it's like a snail, whatever you think it of. Okay? And then if you want to draw any kind of other line up here, you can. You can choose that. Okay, so here are our lines. Okay, right now I am going to get my envelope, and inside my envelope I should find my shapes that I cut out. Our job now is to glue these shapes onto our paint palette, and this is going to be kind of what looks like our paint. If we were an actual artist with a paint palette, they would put paint all around it and they would paint with it. So this is going to be our paint. It's going to be our shapes. Okay, so let's start with red. I want you to do dots, not lots. So you'll take your glue. Remember, you have to twist it open. If it's closed, there's going to be no space here. If it's open, you're going to see some space there. Flip it over. You want to give it a gentle squeeze. Let the glue run to the top. Dots, not lots. It's a tiny piece of paper, so we don't need a ton of glue. If you want to put a little dot in the middle, you can. Notice how you come in from the edge. And you're going to put the red square right next to that circle. Next will be the rectangle. Dots, not lots. Next will be the circle. Okay, for the circle, this one I want you to do a frame. So you come in from the edge, squeeze just a little bit, and you draw with your glue cap. It's not leaking, it's not dripping, just a little glue will do ya. Back to the triangle, dots. Oval, I'm going to do a frame. I'm going to do a frame every time there's a curved line. Anytime there's straight edges, I'm going to do dots, not lots. Okay, so from here, I want you to take your scissors and you're going to take the big palette and you're going to come in from one side. Now, if you notice, this is a curved line. Turn your paper, not your scissors. Now this part is going to get tricky, so you gotta move your hand, maybe cut off some of this paper so it's out of your way. this is scrap paper. This belongs in the recycle bin. Don't worry about cutting out this hole. Miss Sauer will do that for you. Alright, so this is what it would look like. You put your thumb through here, and you would like dip your paintbrush into these colors and you would paint. So this is what a paint palette looks like. Obviously this isn't paint, it's all made of paper, but it's still very fun. And this is our line, shape, and color paint palette.